Okay, how did I get the role of Grant Kelly on Welcome Freshmen? The one agent, a woman named Melissa Angel, really pushed for me because I used to always go visit her at the agency, and so she sent me up there kind of on a whim, and I went with a girlfriend of mine named Sasha, and we made a day out of it and went to Universal Studios, and I auditioned. I didn't think there was any chance I was going to get it. I was a bundle of nerves, and just made a day of it. And I think we even went to Universal Studios, maybe. Auditioned, and sure enough, it was a long time later that I heard back that I came home from school one day, and my mom was just bursting with excitement to tell me the news that I had been cast as Grant Kelly on Welcome Freshmen. So that's how I got the role. And I actually read with Jocelyn Steiner while I was there. So I wasn't too familiar with the show when I auditioned, so I didn't know who Jocelyn was when I read with her. So that was probably for the better because I would have been really nervous. My first impression of Nickelodeon Studios when I got there was I was intimidated and excited all at the same time. You know, you have to sign in through security, so I felt like I was kind of a small fish in a big pond, and I don't know if I felt like I was worthy of going in, but I did. And once I got inside, Nickelodeon Studios, it's odd, but I think for me, I remember things by smells, and it had a very specific smell. It wasn't a bad smell or anything. It was just it was exciting. It was a very suspenseful place. There was always fun stuff going on. You know, they had video games in the hallways, and they always had there was the slime gack kitchen, and always the tours going through and all that kind of stuff. So, and then you can hear the rides in the background and people screaming on the rides and that kind of thing. So I think that kind of added to the exciting atmosphere of Nick Studios. Just all the kind of excitement and fun going on around you kind of infused the place with an aura of excitement. So a typical day on the set of Welcome Freshmen, depending on whether it was, I think Wednesdays and Thursdays I was in school in Tampa, and then Friday, Saturday, Sundays I think we were rehearsing, and then I think we shot on Mondays and Tuesdays. I'm not sure if that's right. It's been a long time. But what we would do is typically we would come in. I think we were pretty much on our own for breakfast, or there might have been some kind of cereal around, that kind of thing. It wasn't like a catered meal or whatever. And then we would actually, I think we started our day at on-location education in a trailer. So we had some really great teachers, and I actually got the best grades I got in high school while I was doing on-location education at Nick Studios. So my teachers were really good about sending my work and all that kind of thing. And so we would study for a while and take any quizzes and tests that our teachers had sent for us. And then we would go into rehearsals. And so we would actually start with a table read. It's kind of coming back to me now. So we would just read through the script up in one of the script rooms, up in the upstairs in the administrative offices, and just kind of get a feel of what this episode was going to be about and what our parts were and what we had to do. And then we would go on later through the week, and we would start blocking it for lighting. And so it's a very tedious process, and any actor will tell you, especially for young actors, it takes a lot of patience because, I can't speak for everybody, but I had ADD. So, and I still have ADD. So, just having the patience to work with the crew and for them to have the patience with me, to be where you need to be and hit your marks so they can get you lit well, and so they can get the boom in, so the microphone, so you can be recorded. your sound can be recorded. It's a very tedious process. It takes a long time. And not to mention adding the acting on top of that and the direction. So getting the feel of your performance that you're supposed to get. It's a, just looking back, it is an intensely complex, layered process. So, but it was amazing to be part of. So then we would have, after we rehearsed for a while, or on shoot days after we had shot several scenes, we would get our lunch catered in, and they always had some tasty menu items for us. So they would, sometimes we would order sandwiches from a local place or some hot food. It was always really good. We were always really excited about lunch. And then on shoot days were a little more isolating because we would spend most of the day in our dressing rooms because we needed to be available when they were ready for us. So, and I remember I was really fortunate because I had a really big dressing room. I don't know why that happened, but I think it was because I was one of the older cast members. So people would come, sometimes other cast members would come hang out with me, and we had a lot of fun. I won't go into any details, but it was we were kids, so put it that way. We weren't always good, but we didn't do anything too bad, I guess. So, and then when the time came, we would always go into makeup, and I just remember feeling like I was completely caked with makeup. This was before the days of HD, where you have to use really minimal makeup because it all comes out on camera. So we were just caked in makeup. I mean, so much that if you wore a white shirt and you took your white shirt off, it would be covered with really thick, like flesh-colored makeup. And then sometimes we would shoot late into the evening to finish things up. And then we would go home, and it's very, it's tiring. You go home and crash out, go to sleep, get ready for the next day. That's about it. And sometimes, I want to say if we worked late, we would actually eat dinner there as well. So, anyway, I felt like they took really good care of us, so it was awesome. So the studio tour, where the guests could watch us from above, from what was called the gallery, was great. We loved it. We would always, because Chris Loban and Rick Galloway and I had, we are still, but mostly back then, we're just intense goofballs. And we would jump on each other's backs and just act like idiots. And really, give us an audience and we would make the most of it. So we had a lot of fun with the tours and the galleries and waving, and if there was a girl that we thought was attractive up there, we would all act like idiots to try to get her attention or whatever, right? I actually remember, Jocelyn will probably get mad at me for telling this story, but I had a girlfriend at the time named Tina. I won't say any last names, I don't want to get anybody in any trouble. But she came to visit on the set, and she was a very pretty girl. I was a B-level cable TV star, so I guess at that point I warranted a pretty cute girlfriend. So she came to visit the set, and I think Jocelyn was a little bit, I don't want to say threatened, but she was frustrated with that whole situation because there was this whole argument at one point whether these guys that were on the tour were reacting to Tina or if they were getting excited about Jocelyn on the set. So I think we got in, I won't say Jocelyn and I got in fights, but we definitely, teenagers working together for hours on end on a set, it got intense sometimes. So that was one kind of fun story. But we had a lot of great fun with those tours. I actually have a good friend, Stacy, who used to work in the GAC kitchen and giving the tours. So I made good friends with her. We still are friends, and we keep in touch. I just texted her last week. So that was really nice, too. It was always nice to kind of have a good relationship with those folks. And I think every once in a while we would step in and kind of just, throw GAC around with them or grab the microphone and say hi, I think that kind of made the tour a little fun, kind of a little bonus for the. Yeah, so the other shows that were filmed at, I want to say we were Studio 17 and 18. I don't know, I might be way off on that. But Clarissa Explains It All was taped there. I always say taped just because film, there wasn't a whole lot of film besides Shelby Woo. But that's just the audio, the AV geek in me now. But yeah, the hidden secrets of the temple, Mayan temple. I don't remember, but it's something like that. 15 was taped there while we were there. A lot of promos came through. You to you. What else? It was mostly what I remember is Clarissa Explains It All. Was taped. I think there was some Double Dare as well. But most of the time it was Clarissa Explains It All, and we got to hang out. I got to hang out with Melissa Hart a few times, and that was really cool. She always seemed like a really great lady. Well, not at the time. She was a great girl at the time. So yeah, that's all I can remember that shot there. And of course, then afterwards, Shelby Woo, all that, Keenan and Kel, all those are awesome. So to have all that production going on in Florida was intensely exciting. It was kind of like, I mean, if you look back, even 15, 20 years, Orlando was a lot of, orange groves and kind of pasture land. So the fact that there was a major motion picture studio opening up facilities and really trying to build an industry there was amazing. We all kind of wanted to jump in line and become stars, really. We were beside ourselves, kind of like living in a dream. The reason, I mean, I'm definitely not qualified to give like a financial reason, economic reason. The only thing I can think of is there are a lot of markets like South Carolina, Canada, that really, really incentivize film and video and television and commercials to shoot in their locations. And they aggressively market and promote. And I don't know that the powers that be in Orlando really did that. There were a lot of individuals and a lot of non-governmental organizations and foundations that did do that, and they tried so hard. And those out there who may watch this video know who you are, because I remember going to a lot of meetings of independent film organizations that were just like struggling to try to get people and the local government to give those incentives and those tax breaks and that kind of thing. I just don't think the powers that be in Orlando had that foresight to look ahead and say, okay, maybe if we give a little bit of tax revenue here, tax breaks and that kind of thing, then it'll help develop the industry, and then eventually we can recoup all that money. I think everybody was kind of thinking short term, which we tend to do in America. I mean, not only from the government standpoint, but as individuals, I think we all kind of look at the short term. So I think that's probably what happened in Orlando. And, maybe someday it'll come back as a market. God knows it's been an amazing breeding ground for like the boy bands and like Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera, all those people that were on the Mouse Club, I guess, Disney, whatever. They're all, they all became amazingly famous and then promptly left Orlando. So, yeah, I guess that's that. Lamentably, I have never been slimed. It's a shame. I don't know why I've never been slimed. I guess maybe it'll never happen. Favorite ride at Universal Studios? The Incredible Hulk. It's part of kind of the newer generation rides. I say newer generation, it was probably built there like 10 years ago. It's amazing. If you haven't been on it, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but let's just say it starts off like no roller coaster I had ever been on at the time when I went on it. So check it. So if I could own one prop from the set of Welcome Freshmen, I know the question was if I could own one prop from Universal Studios, but Welcome Freshmen was basically my most amazing part of Universal Studios for me. I would want the Hawthorne Chicken Hawk logo. It was a chicken hawk's head, or the lockers. I think it might be cool if I had a big mansion someday to have the lockers somewhere. Maybe in a hallway somewhere. Just because we spent so much time in front of those things and around those things, and I think that would be really nice to have. Yeah. The staff at Nick Studios was really great. We became really close with all of them. And I don't know that I necessarily appreciated how great they were until I had worked on some other sets and been in some other situations. And it was just really, they put up with a lot of crap from us. And we became really close with them. So, and I subsequently, after Welcome Freshman was over, I went back and did an internship for Nickelodeon Studios in the engineering department and worked with a gentleman named Angel. And he was just a really great mentor. He kind of showed me around the studios and how everything works technically and where we get equipment from. We do events and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, after Welcome Freshman was over, they flew us to New York City, all expenses paid, and gave us some per diem to spend while we were there, just kind of as a last hurrah to all spend time together. And it was truly a magical time. And I don't think it would have been that way if it weren't for the people and the directors we worked with and the crew, the lighting guys, the camera people. They had their own jokes, and we were all spending so much time together. If there wasn't some humor and some camaraderie and some family, sense of family there, I think we all probably would have gone insane. So everybody was really good at that. And just kind of catching up with each other, I remember actually Mike Speller gave me a CD of The Kids Are All Right by The Who, that CD. And I think, on the surface, it was a nice disc of music that I really enjoyed. And I think it was probably just music that Mike enjoyed too. But on another level, it was kind of like, I felt like it was one generation handing off a piece of rock and roll history to a younger generation and saying, check this out, you might like it. So, yes, I do keep in touch with several people from Welcome Freshmen. So, just visited Ari and Ash in Orlando when I was in town earlier this year for my friend's wedding. She's a great friend and a wonderful person, wonderful mom. And I speak regularly, not as much as I'd like to anymore, but with Rick Galloway, really good friend of mine. We've lived together in LA. I mean, he's just like a brother, really. He knows everything about me, and I know a lot about him too. I actually lived with Chris Loban, who played Kevin on Welcome Freshmen in Brooklyn for a while. And we have kept in touch on and off through the years, but again, not as much as I'd like to. So yeah, Chris Loban. Joe Jeffrey, he had played some smaller parts on the show, and he lives in LA. And we have kept in touch. Also, not as much as I'd like to. Life kind of goes on. It's kind of hard to keep in touch with people, but I enjoy. We do Christmas cards and I get updates. I don't have a Facebook myself. My wife does, so she gives me updates on how everybody's. So, the green slime geyser out in front of the studios. What I remember the most about it really is from it being on the credit sequence on the show, and then just being an interesting attraction that kids would stop and look at for a while they were going through the park. And it's kind of cool because the slime thing kind of sneaks up on you. I guess it was just green colored water. So this question made me smile. You may not be aware, but how do you feel knowing that Welcome Freshmen and the rest of the 90s Nickelodeon shows made such a positive impact on fans and are still loved today? I think that is really cool, and it makes me feel really, really good. When I was on Welcome Freshmen, I honestly don't know that I appreciated it as much as I would if I were that age again now. I don't know if you follow that, but that makes me feel really good. Every time somebody has recognized me from the show or just brought it up, mentioned it, makes me feel really good because it's a really exciting part of my life. And that's obviously less and less as the years go on. So that's really cool. And Bilal, I gotta say, all of us out here who were on those shows in the '90s. Well, I guess I can't speak for everybody, but I think I probably do speak for most of us when I say that we appreciate the work you're doing. And I think it's really special that you feel like this about the studios and the shows and the people who have been on the shows. And I think it's really cool that you're getting them all together. And I think your YouTube page is hot. And I want to do anything I can to support you, man. So keep up the good work, dude. Pounds. So these days, I am the general manager for the audiovisual department at the Washington State Convention Center here in beautiful, rainy Seattle, Washington. So that basically means that we provide projectors, microphones, lighting, sound for conventions, meetings, and social events that take place at the Washington State Convention Center. I work with a company called Presentation Services Audiovisuals. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of my life. I'm also a daddy of twins and a husband and a resident of Seattle, where the Seahawks just won the Super Bowl. Woohoo! Go Hawks! So, yeah, that's what I've been up to these days. So, favorite behind-the-scenes memory. So, Jocelyn will remember this one. Jocelyn Steiner, who played Alex. One day, she really liked push pops, the Flintstone push pops that they sell in the park. They used to sell in the park. I don't know if they do anymore. It's just a little frozen popsicle that you can push up through a little cardboard sleeve. And they sold them right on the far side of the slime fountain, the slime geyser. So we took a break. We were on maybe a 15-minute break from shooting, and we went out to get Jocelyn a push pop, and I went with her. And somebody came up, probably to her, she was on the show longer than I was, and asked for an autograph. And so she was getting her push pop, and she signed it, and then somebody asked for my autograph, and I was signing the autograph. And then when we both looked up, there were throngs of children. There were probably, I don't know, it's probably exaggerated in my memory, but at least 40 or 50 people. So we were kind of hemmed in. So we actually had to get somebody from security to come out and kind of escort us back into the studio. So I think that kind of saved us from having to be really rude and say, we gotta go. Sorry, I can't sign your autographs. So that was my favorite memory from behind the scenes. So my experience being there was a learning process. Absolutely, that helped me develop how I the work I do now. Obviously, anytime you work with people, you're going to kind of develop ways in which you do that. And I was clearly a stage brat at the time. I'm not sure if I knew how to handle being on TV, so I was kind of taking cues from a lot of my peers and fellow actors. And I don't know if I necessarily chose the right role models all the time. So I definitely learned to appreciate things and benefits when I have them. I think I was granted, for lack of a better term, the role of Grant Kelly a little more easily than a lot of people tend to get roles on TV and movies. And so when I continued my acting career, I learned how hard you have to work. And so then when I did the few times I did get more work, like when I was on Everybody Hates Chris as a police officer, I really appreciated it. And I really just kind of savored the time when I was on that set in LA and said, man, this is really special. So yeah, so that's how I learned, and I feel I've become a better person since then. Not that I was a bad person, but I was just very. So what I think made Nick Studios so great and special was, and probably still does make Nick Studios great and special, is the collaborative way in which projects are created. I feel like people that work at Nick Studios and Universal Studios, everybody kind of had their own style, and it wasn't that, people weren't necessarily ostracized for having a different style. I think everybody was encouraged to embellish that and express yourself and be who you are. Not only, people on camera, but people on cameras, people working the cameras, working the microphones and the lighting and all that stuff. There were a lot of great characters. I mean, the people in the show were great, wonderful, and talented people. But if you go behind the scenes on those things, I mean, you've got some stories and some families. There was the Tyndalls, were a couple of the guys who worked in the lighting department, and there was a dad and two sons, and they all worked on the set. So I think I kind of took my cue from Rick Galloway, the guy who played Walter, and he just really kind of became friends with a lot of those guys, and so I think that's what makes it special, and just having like being in touch with your inner kid, having fun, playing video games, singing songs. I'll try to there's a rap video, WRAP, like when the show Wrapped, that I'll try to get for you because I think you really get an essence of that. There was an episode where we did a Shakespearean themed show where there was one actor on the show who was doing a line from Othello that goes, "Beware, my lord, of jealousy. It is the green-eyed monster which doth mock the meat it feeds on." And the way he pronounced it was more like "dot mot the meat." And so that was like this ongoing joke for a whole season where everybody was back behind the screen, behind the cameras, going, "Dot mot the meat." Well, dot mot the meat. So, and I think if anybody who worked on the show watches that, they're gonna laugh right now because we all had a lot of fun with that. So don't dot mot the meat. I would absolutely love to see Nick Studios reopened in Orlando. Absolutely. Actually, let's just take it one step farther. I would love to see there be a giant gala dinner with, but with you, with Bilal there. You could be the MC, right? And we could have Melissa Hart and Jocelyn Steiner and all the 15 characters and Shelby Woo and Jill Setter and Dave Roden and Rick Galloway, Chris Loban, all in attendance, with their beautiful significant others in full black tie attire, and have a big grand reopening special that's televised. Anyway, I digress. That's just my daydream. So, but no, from a more realistic standpoint, I think it would be great to reopen the studios, and I would love to see history repeat itself with some deserving, hardworking kids from the Orlando, Tampa, acting and technical lighting, audio, video scene get their talents and their hard work rewarded with some work and some shows and some magic brought into their lives the same way that we all experienced in the late '90s. I think that would be super cool, and I would love to witness that.